Okay, welcome back to another Catharsis Healing Talk. And today we continue our conversations about, oops, you're not, it's not your turn yet. Today we continue our conversations about the ancient teachings that were lost to the masses and they end up being brought back at this time. And you can find more about those in Kay's latest book, The Weavings, Dawn of a New World. The link to that book on Amazon is below in the descriptions. And today's teaching is that we're going to talk about to honor and know the sacred altered states of consciousness and perception and utilize them. And before we get into it, please like, subscribe, comment, share to help us out with our YouTube channel. And what else was I going to say? Oh, there's also a link in the description where you can get the first 3 chapters of the book for free. All right. My name is Helmut. I am here with our friends Laura and Laura. Hi, guys.
Hello.
And of course, Kay Cordell Whitaker, the author of the book you just saw, and also of The Reluctant Shaman and Sacred Link. All right. To honor and know the sacred altered states of consciousness and perception and utilize them. Okay.
I think first we have to talk about the altered states of consciousness and regular states of consciousness and what is all that and what does that mean? And most people in our modern world they're kind of running on automatic pilot all the time. They don't really pay attention to what kind of state of consciousness they have. Most people don't have a very good idea about what consciousness is. And even our scientists have to grapple quite a bit with trying to understand that, try to work out in their thinking how does that fit into science? Does it fit into science? Because science has been so bent on that it doesn't have anything to do with consciousness. That's something different. And it's kind of a taboo word or taboo subject in a lot of scientific fields. Or like I heard a scientist talking about the last scientific convention that he had been at, where all these different scientists are reading their papers on things that they were working on. Is they're not allowed. It's like the taboo word. Like they could say fuck or shit if they want, and there's no problem. But if they say consciousness, it's like everybody in the whole audience just goes, oh no, said the C word, because they just don't understand it. And I think the best way to approach that is to look at the scientific work that has been done about how the brain is operating and what kind of frequencies it's operating on, and it operating in different areas of the brain. It'll be in one frequency here and a different frequency over here, or maybe it'll swipe the whole part of your brain and to be just one consciousness level, one state of consciousness for a while. And how they break that down is gamma, beta, theta, delta. And The gamma we'll talk about last because that's just brand new. That's newly been thought up and decided on that that's an actual thing, and the brain actually does that. And they already don't know what the other levels really are and what the brain does with them. And but at least somebody's poking their attention into it, so maybe they'll figure it out. But the ancients did. They knew very well what these different states of consciousness are. So we'll take that gamma, which is at the top of the list. It's the fastest frequency group. And the next is beta. And most of us, most of the time, our waking hours, we're being active. We have to do things. We have to think things through. We have to figure out problems and um, do our daily life. And most of that is happening in the beta level. And our brain is working pretty fast. And the beta level is where that little voice inside your head or voice is. And that doesn't mean you're crazy. That means you're part of the human race. We talk to ourselves with these little voices, and it's babbling about this and it wonders about that. And then, oh, you got to remember this. We're just talking to ourselves in a ridiculous amount of scattered chatter. And all of that's happening in the beta realm. Now, when you're in that frequency range, you're blocking out everything else. You block out the gamma, you block out the alpha, you block out the theta, you block out the delta. And what that ends up doing is everything that is non-linear, everything that's spiritual about you, about what goes on inside of you and in your life. And if you have any of those kinds of spiritual pursuits, that's if you're stuck in the beta, then they've got all this jabber going every which way in your head. You're blocking all that out. Somebody who lays down to go to sleep at night and they just can't fall asleep. They can't slip out of the beta range. They've got themselves habituated into being in the beta and babbling and thinking and problem solving and trying to fix this thing that happened at the office and they could be like that all night. When we go to the alpha level, that's when people are really relaxed. They've stopped a lot of this beta chatter, not all of it, but they've stopped a lot of it. The most annoying, troubling, and addictive parts of it that keep you trapped there. And in that alpha state, the vibrational rates are slower than in the beta. And that's when we feel ourselves slowing down, getting peaceful, finally relaxing, being able to enjoy life and things that like love and beauty and relationships. That's alpha from the ancient way of looking at it. This is the first level of trance, the easiest level of trance to get into. Most people know alpha brainwaves as where they get to when they're trying to go to sleep, try to fall asleep. They slip into alpha first, and then what they've come to understand inside themselves is this is the doorway to real sleep. When they go into theta brain waves, they're going to be totally asleep, and they're just slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. And all that babble is just disappearing, and they drift off to sleep. A lot of different things can happen in this first level of trance. And music can put us there, art can put us there, love can put us there. Getting out of a really noisy, frantic, babbling beta environment, whether that's in your home or your office, or you're in town somewhere, trying to take care of some business, and there's so much activity going on, so many things going on, and there's all this electricity and the lights and the all that stuff. That's all the beta range activity, and that keeps us awake and keeps the babble going. But if we can slow down and slow down and slow down and get peaceful and restful without falling asleep, just getting more peaceful and more peaceful, we find that we are in alpha, sometimes deep in alpha. And if we keep going, we can slip into a stronger trance state, which is theta. Most people, they're asleep during theta. They don't, they don't really know what it feels like. They aren't paying attention to that. They they use it for sleep, and you want to be in there when you're sleeping. That's when all the good things from sleep happen. The rejuvenation of your body, detoxing, rebuilding your body tissues, and um, all that kind of stuff happens when we're in our sleep states. And a good piece of that can happen in the theta range. But if we are trying to do spiritual practices, we need to get into the trance states. We need to learn how to get into alpha and hold that and get as much of our brain in the alpha state as possible, and our whole body to follow suit. And if we are doing ceremony, and it's a deep ceremony, maybe a long ceremony, we want to slip into the theta range and stay awake. So in the spiritual circles, um, when we do ceremony, we're often talking about journeying, where we take the point of our attention, piece of our consciousness, and aim it out of our body somewhere else, either into the spirit worlds or somewhere in the physical world, and we have a task to perform. And that's very often talking to certain spirits, or maybe your ancestors, uh, or exploring the spiritual world and what it has to offer and what it can teach you. And there's a tremendous amount of possibilities and knowledge and experience and meeting new new life forms, new entities, not just physical humans, but other kinds of folks that all share the world with us, and they they share the nonlinear world with us. Whether we know it or not, we are part nonlinear, part spiritual, and we have spiritual activities that we don't even know about that are happening all the time. But when we're learning, when we're doing ceremony, and we learn how to do meditations, this is when we send ourselves into a quiet, peaceful trance. and try to get to different trance levels according to what our task is going to be, what what kind of ceremony we are doing. In the ancient teachings, all ceremonies involve trance states, some level of trance states. And even when we do the healing work, which is a real big piece of what we do with the studies in Katasi, with ancient teachings, they were really, really big on energetic healings and psychic surgery and stuff like that. And that is a ceremony for somebody to do that, to do help somebody else by doing a healing on them in the ancient way. We have to get into trance, get as deep as possible, and stay awake. That's the first thing that you learn when you start these journeys. You learn how to get in there, but still be awake and purposeful, and you can guide yourself following the protocols and the instructions that come with ancient teachings or come from the spirit people. So as we are doing these healing ceremonies, we like to get deeper and deeper into the trance levels because it puts us farther away from the beta mind and the beta chatter inside ourselves and in from the world that's around us, and we have more access to our own life energy and the life energy of the universe, and it's easier to talk to the spirits who are guiding us in the healings. They always tell us, what things are going wrong in that body, where the problems are, and they take us right into them, literally in their in the body of the person we're working on. And you get as much education as you want about what the problem is and how it gets that way and how to fix it, and maybe things personal to the person that you're working on that was part of how they managed to get that problem in the first place. And some of that information they tell you you have to tell that person when you come out of the trance and you're telling them what you found. You have to tell that person this all this information, this message. And those messages can be incredibly important and healing. Very, very, very healing. So when we're doing that kind of really deep, the healing ceremonies, the weaving ceremonies, which is another kind of healing because we're healing on the earth instead of another human. We have the whole earth that we're working on, and then the web, the weaving, the web of the earth. We want to get not just in alpha, not just in theta, but we want to be in delta. And you can even go lower than that. Not easy, but it can happen. And because of what we have access to when we are in that delta level and the kind of energy and life energy, the amount, the access of that we have, the information, the communication, everything is so much clearer, so much better that it can't help but to result in much better healing for the person, much stronger, longer lasting healing energy, and all of the processes that we do while we're inside somebody's body and in those states. So as we're studying these things, in the ancient teachings in the Katasi way, and I have found out that in other cultures that have managed to keep um, this part of the really ancient teachings alive in their own culture, they follow the same procedures. There might be some tiny differences and differences in the way they talk or their colloquialisms, the so that they kind of make a different picture for themselves with some of the way they talk about it, but essentially the tasks are all the same. And the beauty of it, of being in the middle of it and being able to do it is just mind-boggling. It is absolutely mind-boggling. And the amount of love that you end up feeling when you get in those deep, deep levels and your perceptions open up. With every level deeper that you go, your perception is opening up wider and wider and farther, farther out into more realms and states of consciousness that you never knew existed before. Um, these ties, the communication, connection with the universe and the spirits and these other entities, they don't have physical bodies the way we do on our planet, but they are real and they do live here. And some live in other realms that are close, and they come back and forth between their home and here. And we can go there in ceremony when we're in trance. This unconditional love of the universe is so palpable. It fills your body, and you're filling the body in front of you with all this love from the universe, this astounding amounts and quality of unconditional love and acceptance. The person themselves might think that they're, their own mind babble and blind beliefs and stuff. They may think very poorly of themselves and that they're not very acceptable, and most people don't like them, and on and on and on. And that's a very, very common aspect of humanity in more normal consciousness. And you're filling them with pure acceptance and pure love, pure life energy. And you are focusing and directing that life energy many times in many ways to do repairs. In psychic surgery, you're taking an organ that failed out, and the spirits give you a brand new organ, perfect blueprint. Everything about it is is perfect and fresh, and they show you how to put it back in and connect everything and get everything flowing and making that the blueprint tied into the rest of the blueprint so it's all one again like it should be. And the people can't help but to feel that being done to them. And it feels beautiful and peaceful and restful and loving and accepting. They've never in their life felt so completely, unconditionally accepted and loved and cared for. And they're feeling the spirits that are present. You're feeling them. And you have the ability, and with all this training of consciousness and perception, you have the ability to talk to all these different spirit helpers. Their spirit helpers, your spirit helpers, their power animal, your power animal, which is another kind of spirit helper, and the spirits of the body, like the spirit of the liver, the spirit of the bone, the spirit of the stomach, and on and on and on. And they give you every bit of information that you need to show you everything, and they help you remove the things you need to remove. Somebody might be holding on to some really old, nasty, traumatic energy that can show itself to you as something that looks pretty yucky or smells pretty yucky. And the spirits just help you and tell you how to take that out of that person's body safely and send it through a door that you ask the Mother Earth to open up so that Mother Earth can take care of it and send it where it needs to go. Because she's a lot bigger and smarter than us. And she knows all about all that stuff and knows where to send it to, that is like the heaven to that disorder or that disease or that failed organ or whatever it is that you took out. And you always put beautiful, beautiful life energy, love, patterns, everything back in. You never leave anything empty. And this is what we do when we do the healings on people or animals or our garden, or a body of water or even the air. And this is what we do when we do the weavings. This is the healing work on the total planet Earth and total humanity and everything that is alive on planet Earth that she supports. The weavings are um, we don't even have exclamation ways of saying how incredibly beautiful and powerful and successful they are. And then we've been doing them since 2009. 2009. And they've been done before when the world of that time and era, way behind us in the past, was coming to an end. And they all do. They all come to an end sooner or later. That era, the ancients and a lot of indigenous people call that a world. The world's coming to an end. It doesn't mean that it's going to be complete annihilation for everything and the planet's going to explode. And that is not what it means. It means the culture is coming to an end and that it's time to build a new culture, a new world, a new way, a new era. And we are at one of those times where what's dying is really corrupt and really bad and has just made a real mess of so many things all over the planet and with humans and our health and our state of consciousness, our development of our consciousness. So the old world here is ending. We're building a new one. We have to start building it, dreaming it, thinking it. What do we want in the new world? And what do we don't want in the new world? We don't want the corruption and the poisons and stuff. We need to think that through. We need to follow it through. How do we do that? How do we build a world without that kind of corruption and the poisons that are in everything? Our consciousness is is us. This is what Katasi calls our song. And that's a poetic term, a poetic reference to how beautiful the essence of who and what we are, and our totality of who and what we are, energetically, spiritually, physically, everything all told together. We call that song. And that means a song is full of harmonies and music and frequencies of all kinds and beauty, poetry. And that's what our consciousness is. And that's what we're always aiming to get rid of, all this corruption and the blind beliefs, all the things that block our way to feeling that. We can't think our way to bigger, better consciousness because the road doesn't go there. It's just there is no road from the thinking, the linear way of being, from the beta babble way of being. There's no way to get to increased consciousness or awareness or perception. The only way to do that is to clear the blocks. And that means clearing out the blind beliefs, clearing out the stress and the anxiety and all the negative emotions that we were carrying with these blind beliefs. They block out those frequencies from our perception. And the bigger part of our own beingness, our song, is nonlinear, is spiritual. The bigger part of the earth, of the universe, it's all nonlinear. It's spiritual. And if we want to touch into that and gain greater consciousness and learn about the truth of how things work, the truth of the science of how consciousness works, how the universe works, how everything is connected and flowing together, we have to get rid of the boulders, the garbage in the way that's blocking the path. And that starts with the blind beliefs. It starts with questioning everything. If you don't start questioning your own blind beliefs, you're never going to get rid of them. They'll be there governing you. And I do mean controlling and governing everything you think, everything you feel, everything you believe, everything that you want, that you desire, every action that you decide to make. They are controlling all of it. And that goes on inside you, on inside of everybody. We want a new world. That means all the people have to get rid of their blind beliefs. They have to get rid of all of that corruption. So at the moment, I think that's all I have to say about consciousness and perception. And I love to hear all the things that you guys have to say.
Okay, if you want to learn more about the weavings, the QR code up there gets you to the book. And Kay writes a whole lot about it in the book. Pretty amazing book. She shares more about the ancient teachings in that book than I think in her previous two books combined.
That's true.
Deep stuff. Thank you, Kay. Beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome. The book takes lots of chewing. You know, it's you got to read it slow. You got to give it time. You can't rush it. You got to really chew on it, feel it. It's all in the feelings, not the linear thoughts. It's in the feelings.
All right, ladies, do you have something? What you got?
Go ahead, Laura.
I love it. Well, I'm going to start off by saying Kay just had an amazing lecture, and it's chock full of wonderful, juicy information. I started with just the books, right? And then now I've been studying under Kay. I've gone through 4 levels, and it's a process, right? But it's really hard to share because you can't imagine what you have not or you have not experienced or have not experiencing or are not experiencing. It's hard to share that with other people, but right on the very edges of your consciousness as you're learning these skills, you realize that there's far more there, and it's far more vast than you can even imagine. And it's all going on all along. I mean, we're a web of relationships, and our consciousness is right here, right now. But right on the edge, you're connected to everything else. When I first started learning this, and then I started to experience it, you start to experience some colors, maybe you start to feel that there's, some entities there that you weren't aware of before. And then there's those subtle feelings, but there's just so much information there, which of course we use when we're weaving. And yeah, Kay's lecture is chocked full of information she gave you today. If you want to learn more, of course, the book or start the Call of Your Song. There's just so much. It's hard to share the things that I've experienced, but I have felt that unconditional love. And I have felt that there's just so much there. And as we learn to cultivate our attention and our awareness, you have access to those things. So yeah, it's fun stuff. It's just it's really hard to even go into it because I would have never have thought there would be so much available. And then you're when you first learning, you're fighting all these limiting beliefs to start with. And as you start to weed those out, then you start to be more and more aware of what is there, and you start to cultivate it. And then ultimately what the book she's telling us is that to honor it, honor those sacred states of awareness, those sacred states of consciousness, so you can access the bigger part of who you are. And it's sacred. Laura, see if you can help put words to what I can't seem to today.
I was thinking you were doing a really good job. I'm glad you started out with stating what a good, amazing lecture this was, because that was what I was gonna exactly say. It's like those levels of consciousness, that mastering your attention, that level of consciousness is where the magic is. I was just watching a video that Laura and I were both on. I just caught like the beginning intro of it where we started talking with you guys, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we started doing some of these, and it was kind of amazing how long ago. But I was looking at us and I'm like, the level of light behind our eyes, and Laura and I, it was like, I still don't think we're the smartest people in the room. I wouldn't go that far ever. But the way we were able to perceive accurately, that listening to the more that's coming at us. Looking back, I can see the change. It's been slow and steady. What I love in this statement and what I love about the entire book, and as Kay said, small bites and chew well. The book is amazing. I would read it once, enjoy the whole thing, but go back. And go back and go back. Because it's packed. There's just like sentences that stop me. And what I've realized, in studying with Kay, but definitely, her writing this book and producing this book, she doesn't, every word is in there is intentional. Every word in the book has purpose. She's not, throwing words in to create pages. It's the same thing with every course or class you ever take with Kay. There's these ancient teachings are taught in an order. She's not adding class to, give you 3-day weekends so she can charge more. It's less like they are packed and full of just juicy stuff. So even those, it's like you repeat and repeat again and see something different. And this, the fact that Kay wrote in the ancient studies, this one, ancient teaching we're talking about is consciousness with perception. And you did such a good job of explaining it. It's like getting that accurate perception of what's really going on. It's like the step by step. You got to get rid of these blind beliefs, to quiet the mind, to raise the vibration. And it's like it's there where the perception starts expanding, and you start having, and I could go in further in our conversation of all perceptions are accurate, but I won't go there. But it's just like you're able to perceive what you've been missing, and whether it's, with like my sense of smell alone is, I swear, even in the last 2 weeks, it raised even further. Like the things my sensitivity to this psychic level of smelling is amazing. And with that hit of smell, all this information comes in. But oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Yay me. I don't know what made that happen, but well, it's so cool. And and I love that this line in this book has those two, and I kind of had a question when you had written it, like, why are those two together? Because I knew there was intention behind it. And today you explained it perfectly, why those two are together. It's just, there's a whole other level, and I like, the conversation around sacredness, because you can't alter your state. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of medications and stuff that'll alter your state, but without that sacred, oh my gosh, it's on fire. I'm gonna keep my hands down. Without that sacredness and coming at your states of consciousness with this sacredness and this honoring, you don't get the accurate perception. And if this is something you want, definitely read the book. The book is amazing. It's so beautiful. If you just want to feel good at the end of each day, read the book. It's like it's pages and pages of medicine for your heart. But step into the studies. I mean, it's just like, even in the beginning studies, the call of your song, it's just tools to getting to these levels, to perceive this world. And when you perceive it, all you're going to see is the beauty. I mean, that's what most people are missing out. That's why we're all living these lives of silent desperation, or loud desperation is less like we're not, our consciousness is, you know, down there in the beta, you know, and we're not seeing the beauty that's, you know, there around us. I have so much gratitude, Kay, because it's just like the way I experience even the day-to-day things, it's at such a different level. My, you know, my granddaughter's love is at such a different level that you know, just hits me because I have the level of consciousness really to perceive what's happening at that moment. And I mean that I'm so grateful. So grateful. Thank you. That's all.
Hmm. Okay. Consciousness is not just something that people have, and it's not a thing that, you know, it's this big and it's right here, and that's my consciousness. And it's not like that at all. Consciousness is, in a universal sense, is a constant. It is everywhere. Everything is conscious. It has consciousness. It has thought and feeling, and it communicates, and it senses, it receives, and it sends, and it perceives the world in its own way. And everything's consciousness is a little different, and their perception is a little different, and that's a good thing, because the ancients also say that every single thing is alive and conscious, but it is a unique individual piece of creator or creation or whatever other word that you want to put in for creator. If you have another way to say that, we are a piece of our creator. We're a piece of the consciousness that is the universe, that created us, and everything else is. That means it's all alive, it's all conscious and interactive and communicative and willing to be friends, to develop more friendships and have more friend exchanges. And this is a constant that goes all over the universe. It's everywhere. And it is utterly, astoundingly beautiful, full of diversity and variation and things that are so unexpected and so beautiful. And we can learn from everything else, and they learn from us. It's not just a one-way street that we're the only learners. Everything else out there is learning as well as the creator learning through us. So,
Yeah.
what say you?
I want to speak, I mean, great stuff today. I really love it. But I want to speak to why we're sharing these ancient teachings. Because some people, and I want to do a longer talk on that too, but this world is dying. This way we have been living is dying. And many people are catching on to that and want to build a new world. And if we want to build a new world, we need guidance. And I don't know of any better guidance than the ancient teachings to get us back to a way of living that reflects our humanity. And not that Katase and Kay and we are the only ones sharing these ancient teachings. There are many other people around the world. There are not that many that honor and stick to the real ancient teachings in the modern Western world. And we share them, we share these ancient teachings so they get out into the world and people start picking up on them. And then we can build a new world based on what Kay mentioned earlier, the love and the beauty and the peace and gratitude and forgiveness and health and happiness and abundance and all this kind of stuff. So, but we're going to talk more about all that in one of the future talk of our future talks. But if you want to fundamentally change the world, help change the world, these teachings are the basis of it for us, and they're pretty powerful. In the process, you will change your world for the better in ways you probably can't imagine possible right now. So, thank you. Thank you, ladies.
I want to add to that this is not a religion in any sense of the word. This is not a centralized institution or teachings. It's what used to be taught all over the world to all peoples, and coming from many, many different places, and meaning different stars, different star systems. This is part of the foundation of how many of the star people think and feel and live, and how they learned science through this. They learned the nature of consciousness, the nature of the energy that runs everything, the whole void, the field. It has all these different names. There is science to it, but our modern earth science is way off track. And as my alien friends told me, that there wasn't a whole lot that was in our system of science and medicine, and what we're taught in our schools. And there's not much that's true or real. It's inaccurate. Some of it is just out and out lies, and some of it is just inaccurate because we're not coming from the kind of place we need to be to be able to perceive what is accurate and be able to work with that. There's sciences that they have, the technologies that they have are so incredibly advanced compared to ours. And that has to do with their consciousness level. And yes, they've been alive as a species a lot longer than us. They've had a lot more time to work on this. Some of them have come through the similar histories to us, to our history. But their science is, it looks like magic to us. It looks like spirituality to us. It sounds like spirituality to us because it is. It is. But we are connected to them. We're related to them. In some cases, they are a contributor to our parenting as a race. So we're related to them. And with the kind of consciousness that they have, the consciousness level, they don't have any of the blind beliefs and the babble and the corruption anymore. They got rid of that stuff a long time ago. So their perception is as clear as a bell. And ours can be too. And for us, for our way of thinking of building a new world, a new future, we want that kind of clarity, the kind of clarity that sees corruption for what it is and sees things like war and violence and hatred, and that they're blind beliefs that we become addicted to, and we're blinded to everything else because we're so addicted to it. And we're caught in that trap. And that's the trap we have to get out of. If we want a real new world that doesn't have the old garbage in it, we have to work on it. Each person themselves, inside themselves, to work on that, to change the total human consciousness. And that's how we build a new world. And it's not a chore. It's fun. And it's an utter delight. And learning these things, learning what's else is really out there and how things really run is so fun and beautiful and exciting and thrilling, and it fills your mind with possibilities of what we could do with that kind of information and ability. We have the potential. It was birthed into us, been there for millions of years. So when we talk about waking up, this is what we mean about waking up: getting rid of the blind beliefs, unblocking yourself, untrapping yourself, getting yourself out of it, all these addictions that we found ourselves in this modern world, to let all that go.
Okay, what she said. Beautiful. All put. Thanks everybody for joining us live. Really appreciate having you here. Our hour is up again. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. Really, really beautiful. And we see you next week, hopefully. Love you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody listening. I love you all endlessly.
Bye-bye.